Welcome everyone to today's Simply Biz seminar. It's great to have everybody logging on. I see we've got lots of people today. Um, my name is Jovan van Straaten. I'll introduce myself a little bit more just now. Um, I just want to find out who can hear me. Can I just have a yes from you if you can hear me so I can get an idea if anybody's potentially not connected? Thank you, Jane. Tapiwa. Yes, good. We're just waiting for a couple of other people to respond. Okay. Just waiting for a couple of others. We got Tabo. We've got Candisti. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Renee. Hi, Renee. Let's see who else. I'm just looking at the number of people. We've still got just a few, 2 or 3 to come on. I think we're good. Let me just ask, is anyone on mobile phone? Or is anyone on mobile? There's just a bit of a delay with mobile, so okay. So we got 2 people on mobile. So for those of you on mobile, just remember there's probably a 15-second delay. So if things aren't quite in sync, just bear with us. So let's go. Oh, we got somebody new on. Is that Rebecca? Looks like it. Okay. Well, everyone, Simply Biz, what a wonderful program. Nedbank really pulling out all the stuff. And, for me, as one of the thought leaders in the program, it's really a privilege to be with you. And my background is mainly in entrepreneurship, corporate management, a few of my own businesses, engineering, IT. But most of my hours in the last 5 years, about 1,500 hours, were spent with entrepreneurs. So I love you guys. Can you just do me a quick favor? Just type in what type of business you're in and how many people are there in your business. I just want to get an idea of who's in the group. Thank you, Renee. Jane, great, thank you. Rebecca, I've got. Tapiwa, thank you very much. Candisti. I love it. Events, fashion, and production. Very nice. And I see there's a fudge company, so I'm going to be giving you my address. Eh? Land Rover repairs. Wow. Okay. Web design, construction, marketing agency, and most people, well, all people have got like between 3, 5, 6 people. Fantastic. I want to give you just 30 seconds. If you could go to questions, if you could think of one question, and you don't have to do this, but I'm going to give you 30 seconds. If you can think about one question, which is your biggest challenge in your business right now, would you go to questions and just enter it? You don't have to, but if you have a question, just one, that will also help me to focus a little bit more around how I can tailor the presentation to where you are. In the meantime, while you do that, because entrepreneurs, of course, are fantastic at multitasking, and the ladies seem to be better at it. We're still talking mainly about motivation. It has been, and still, of course, is a challenge. Motivation is always an entrepreneur, but of course, it remains a challenge now in the difficult times. Jane, I just wanted to ask if anyone has a question, if you had to write down one question which is you think a key challenge you face right now, please go to the questions column and just enter it. I will keep watching the questions, and I will try and address them as we go along. Okay. Jane, are you okay now? Can you just give me a yes? Perfect. Perfect. All right. So I'd also like to find out quickly, how many Simply Biz webinars have you already attended? Just give me a number, just so I can get an idea how familiar you are with the program. Just a 1 or a 2 or a 3. Just give me a number. 4, quite a lot. Third, nice. 4, okay. If you only attended one, just put a 1, that's fine. Third one today. There's commitment for you. Well done, Tapiwa. Okay, so I'm not going to say too much about the basics. But you know, one of my strength areas in which I've been operating quite a lot is motivation and strategy. Thank you, Tabo. So I'm taking a little bit more of a systematic approach today about how we can support our motivation. In other words, I'm not going to talk necessarily so much about the emotions and the drive, and of course that's important, but I'm going to try and show you a little bit about what can help you when you're not feeling so great, or when you feel you need more motivation, and how that applies to your business. So let's kick this off. Right, so obviously we're in the change gear space, and it's all about I've titled it now the Change Your Motivation Strategy. So, what is your strategy around motivation? Do you have a strategy around motivation? Often people will say, well, read a motivational book or go and see a motivational speaker. I'm not sure what a motivational speaker is. Maybe there's a motivating speaker. But it's often not that simple. To listen to someone, they tend to give potentially advice. They might help you think. But I just want to introduce to you, you've got a strategy around your business. You've got a strategy around your staff. You've got a strategy around your finances and so on. But do you have a strategy around your motivation? Are you paying attention to yourself and the people who are working for you? If we look at the shifting gear, the Simply Biz program, and we're looking at the change gear facet here, it's all about mindset. So you can see there, it's all about the entrepreneurial mindset. And the key for me behind, I think, motivation is to keep momentum. When things are running smoothly, momentum's not that hard to maintain. But when you hit these, well, let's call them maybe boulders or uphills or, whatever you want to call them, you need to have a strategy to keep momentum. Many people talk about the word pivoting your business. It's become a bit of I wouldn't say an overused word. But I just want to, at this stage already, maybe just a word of warning. This pivoting, the whole thing about pivoting, be careful not to take it too seriously in terms of drastically changing your business. And I'm going to tell you just now why. But certainly changing gear, the mindset, the motivation, the emphasis now is innovation. It's can you think of the new ideas? Do you have a source of motivation, innovation? Where do you get your innovation from? Do you have support to get that innovation? Have you got a network where you're hearing about innovative ideas? And I've actually put it in here, learn for free. There is so much material available for nothing now on the web. That really, if you want to spend time learning about innovation or getting ideas for innovating in your business, there's nothing stopping you. The only thing that sometimes happens with me, I know, is that I can't stop reading about innovation. So I think if you're going to look for information, set yourself a task. Say to yourself, all right, I think innovation in my business is probably important in this area, because if you Google innovation, you're just going to get 30,000 replies. But what I would definitely advise you to do, I know you have a competitive strategy and you are competing, obviously, with other people in the industry. But at this time of dramatic change, I think it's a good thing to especially watch your competitors. You need to know who they are. You need to know what's happening on their websites. You need to know what's happening on their groups. You need to know what's happening on their social media, because that's going to tell you how they're pivoting. That's going to tell you how are they changing their business to be competitive. So you can really get a lot of ideas from there, and you can potentially combine them or shift them or change them. But watching the competitors, extremely important at this point in time. Okay, I've got one question so far from Renee. I'm just going to leave it for the moment. We're going to get there. So here's something that entrepreneurs, that I believe about entrepreneurship and maybe about life. Success is never final. When I get there, I'll be happy. When I get there, this will happen. If I do this, that'll happen. As an entrepreneur, uh, what do we find as success? Well, when do we ever get there? This is called, and I just want to mention it, I'm not going to talk about it, but it's about something called your exit strategy. What are you eventually going to do? Are you going to sell your business? Are you going to be a director? Are you going to be just a shareholder? Are you going to hand it over? So be very careful when people say, do you have a successful business? Because they could mean a lot of things, and everybody measures it differently. So let's quickly talk about what's been happening. I didn't think it would be like this. Okay, applies to me as well. Nobody saw COVID coming, but it's not just about COVID. COVID didn't kill your business, if I can put it very bluntly. I'm not saying that a drastic event like COVID may have, I mean, there are a lot of small businesses who are really struggling. There may be businesses who have literally gone out of business. But I would look more at COVID as something like COVID as what I would call a stress test. Our businesses have really been stress tested. Can we adapt? Can we innovate? Do we have reserves? How is our planning? So I would just suggest that I know that it can be discouraging, but think about it for the future in terms of if my business comes under stress, what do I do? So your risk management strategy becomes very important. But I want to encourage you to hold your vision. Don't let your vision go. And I'm going to tell you just now exactly why I say that, because changing your vision is quite a major mindset change. Now, this might sound strange to you, but when I was little, and I see they've got the whole new toy sets coming out, I think everybody knows what Lego is. Lego are the bits and pieces that you put together to build something. Just remember that in your business, you are the Lego. In times of change, you need to be thinking about what are the bits of my business that I can rearrange or put together differently. What are the Lego pieces? For example, a Lego piece could be let's say a client tracking system. A Lego piece could be even your financial bookkeeping system. A Lego piece could be what's your competitive strategy. So in your mind as an entrepreneur, it might be a good idea for you to go and write down or figure out what the Lego pieces are. And why do I say that? Is because if you want to assemble, if you've built something in Lego and you want to build something else, you first got to take that Lego apart, right? And then you can put it together differently. So try and understand the Lego of your business. And then start thinking about, given the changes that are happening, how can I put it together differently? And that's quite stimulating and can be quite motivating. Right. Now, a lot of the emphasis on programs such as these is around thought leadership. And I've been to a lot of events, obviously you have too. But I want to put it to you that a thought leader is not necessarily an expert. I want to put it to you that all of you are thought leaders. And the reason I say that is because a thought leader is not necessarily an expert. A thought leader is someone who can take information and thoughts from other people in their team, put it together in a way which may not be conventional, use it, and bring those thoughts to bear on the problem. So think of yourself as a thought leader, and use everything you can from not only people in your business, from anywhere else, and build that skill of putting those things together and playing with them in different ways to see how you can come up with a new Lego. And that gives you leadership leverage, because the people who are working with you are looking at you and saying, all right, how can we do this differently? We've got some challenges here. And you can say, well, you know what? If we take this Lego piece and we put it there and we rearrange here and we rearrange there, there's potential for improvement. So I call it the myth of thought leadership. I'm not saying that, there are many thought leaders, thousands of thought leaders in the world, but don't believe that you're not a thought leader. Now, very practically, I just want to talk about strategy. There's a book called Good Strategy, Bad Strategy. If you feel stuck, the bottom line is, it's bad is maybe not the right word, but it's better to implement a slightly weaker strategy than to have a great strategy and not to implement. The temptation in a time of high change is, let's go and re-strategize. Let's go and have another workshop. Let's go and rethink. It might be an alternative to rather say, okay, we'll scale down, we'll stick more or less with our knitting, but let's implement the good strategy we've got. Because once let's implement this. Yeah, let's implement the strategy we've got, because you don't have a lot of time, especially business accelerating now. So the 2-day strategy workshops are fine, but right now businesses are under pressure. I don't think it's a good idea to get all your people together and now say, well, let's go back to the drawing board. And then, what's your appetite for risk? There's this thing called test and measure in marketing. I think you probably know about it. You put something out there, you test it, you measure it, you see what the results are. So be prepared to make mistakes. Yes, we've all made mistakes, but especially in times of change, we are going to make mistakes. But you have to, as the leader of the business, you have to do that in a risk-managed fashion. So think about what you can try. If it fails, it's not going to kill your business, but if it works, it's going to give you a new opening. So I would say about risk is make mistakes, but learn how to win from them. I've talked about learn for free. There's so much out there. Tracking your competitors. And just a last thought. Make yourself a praise myself journal. If you're doing all these things, you don't have to do it every day, but if you can do it in the evening or in the morning, is what have I done well today? What am I proud of? If it's just one thing, great, fantastic. Congratulate yourself, because you're operating in a very, very challenging environment. Please continue with questions if you want to. There are still one or two there, but let's talk about when things get really tough. When things get tough, the tough get going. We know the saying. But I've found that, take a simple thing like a to-do list. Have you ever been in that situation where you've written down 11 things you want to do today, and you do 9 and you feel bad because you haven't finished every one? That can easily happen. So look at your day and set yourself up for one win at least today. What's the one thing you're going to win at? That you're going to make sure that you're going to, when you finish today, it's going to be a win for you, because that's going to push your motivation. But if you don't have a system to plan your tasks and your time, all I can tell you is get one. It can be manual, it can be Google, it can be Outlook, it can be whatever. But the reason I'm telling you that is here where I'm pointing my mouse now is time and task integration. So where do we often fall down? We fall down because we put appointments in our calendars, but we don't put tasks in our calendars. And we're not always sure how long a task takes. So it's known as blocking. So if you have appointments, you put them in your calendar, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now you've got a to-do list. Right at the top of the to-do list is a win for today. Well, how long is that win going to take? When are you going to do it? Are you going to do it in the early morning? Are you going to do it after lunch when you're feeling well? You've block it out in your calendar. So if in your day, in your calendar, there should theoretically be no empty space. I'm not talking about taking a rest or taking lunch, but if you make it a mix of time planning and task planning, and you spread that out over the week, you're probably going to find that you're going to do less than you thought you could do. So really, right now, the emphasis is on doing things quickly and learning how to estimate how long a task is going to take and building that into your calendar. And I think you're going to find that very motivating. Here's the thing about heroism. Have you heard about multitasking heroism? You know, these people who can multitask and do all these things at once. One of the reasons I'm talking about the calendar and the time integration is because you can read the literature. It's been scientifically proven that multitasking decreases your output and your productivity. So blocking, if your time is 20 minutes and it's 5 minutes rest, block it. But be ruthless. If you need to spend 20 minutes and someone's walking into your office and they go, how's it going? You say, listen, I don't want to be rude, but I've got, I can talk to you in 10 minutes and I'll pop around to your office when I have a break. I always say, you know, ruthless with time, gracious with people. All right. Now, Barack Obama had this election campaign where he said, yes, we can. I just want to mention to you that there's a very big trend worldwide going on now in the whole emotional intelligence area. And it's going to become more and more important because it's going to help you build resilience. And because you're not seeing people face to face so much, you're going to have to rely, or we're going to have to rely a lot more on gauging what's going on in their voice, what's their situation, what are they thinking. So emotional intelligence is really something that I'm not saying that you need to go and do a degree in it, but go and watch a few short YouTube videos. There's a fantastic website called 6 Seconds. That's all about emotional intelligence. But that's something in your personal development agenda that I think you could really use. Now, there are two other resources I would just like to recommend. They are from a company called Race Corp. They're two books written by Alon Rays, actually. Sorry, there's one book written by Alon, and the other one is all about the E-Myth, written by Berger. So if you want to go down to the Race Corp shop or want to get in touch with them, the book's called What to Do When You Don't Know What to Do. And Alon really shares a lot of his journey and the things that can help you through a time when you really feel you're stuck. So that's one resource I would recommend. The E-Myth is, of course, very well known. How do we run business? How do we structure business? And what's good about the E-Myth is it gives you the building blocks, again, the Lego, how you put it together, how you make your business robust. And if you can't watch the whole book, you know, YouTube, Google, there's a lot of stuff out there. Michael Gerber is the guy who wrote it. Let's talk a little bit about life. I don't know whether you would agree with me or disagree with me, but in my experience and in my network's experience, isolation equals that word. Oh, it is right. I think it's right. Equals desolation. Now, we've experienced a lot of isolation. And I've got a few friends who are in the in the mental health business, and they're absolutely snowed under because people just don't know how to handle this isolation. So I would recommend, in terms of your motivation, make it part of your strategy. Where am I getting isolated? Where are contacts I had that I don't have anymore? And it's going to take more work. It takes more work to type a message than to say hello in the corridor. But the more isolated we become, the less information we have, the less perspective we have, and we tend to get discouraged. Quickly, just the last one, do the puzzle. You know, it might sound a bit silly, but when you're taking a break, say for 5 minutes or so, you can take a walk around the block, you can breathe, but what's often nice is to do something that takes your mind off completely what you were doing. One of the places I worked is, one of the places where I worked, we just put a puzzle on the table. And when you're taking a break, you go there, you look at the puzzle, and you put the pieces together. It's very important for the brain to switch off, take a different direction, even if it's 5 or 10 minutes, and you'll be amazed that when you come back, the new perspective you've got. I like doing puzzles, so I've always got a puzzle lying around somewhere, and I spend 5 or 10 minutes here and there putting together the pieces. All right. Let's talk about motivation and leadership. So one of the questions here is how to keep my staff motivated when we are all working remotely. Okay. There's some of the answers that I want to address in what I call holding the space. And it's a bit tongue-in-cheek. You know? One thing you can do if you want out is you can immigrate to Australia. So I'll just put that in as a joke. Anyway, I'm too old to do that. But if I look to the question, let's just revisit the question. How can I keep my staff motivated when we are all working remotely? Okay. There are two things here. The state of your business and how you're communicating with your people. Your business might be doing great, but your remote working is not so good. Your business might be struggling, but your remote working is great. Okay. People want to feel safe. Everybody wants to feel safe. When we feel unsafe, we feel uneasy, especially in financial hard times. So when you're working with people, even remotely, they have aspirations. They have things they want to do in life. If you work closely with them, you probably know. But I always say, don't kill the dream. If someone's got a dream and you make them feel unsafe, and they're starting to say, well, I'll never reach this dream, you're going to find a very low level of motivation with your people. So don't lie to them, don't lie to anybody else, and don't kill your own dream. But if you obviously have a vision for your business, and this whole story about pivoting becomes really important in terms of core competencies. Now, what I'm trying to say here is that core competencies are the most important things in your business. So what do you do well? If you suddenly change your business and you are not leveraging your core competencies, you might have a short-term gain, but my guess is you're going to have longer-term problems. Let me give you an idea. Let's take a supermarket. Let's take Pick n Pay. What do they do well? One of their core competencies, logistics. One of their core competencies is finance. One of their core competencies is actually managing what they call their category managers to pack the shelves and so on. One of their core competencies is, when I say finance, they're going to banking now. So all I'm trying to say is that if you have in your business 4 or 5 core competencies and they fit your business like this now, and you suddenly twist your business away from your core competencies, you're going to struggle because you just don't have those core competencies. So it's probably more positive to stick it out and say, these are my core competencies. How can I pivot but still use those core competencies and potentially add or take away? So they call it stick to your knitting. Now, the thing about working remotely, there's a phrase which is going around all over the place, and it's called engagement fatigue. It's real. You need a lot more energy to engage people remotely. And I would say you need to take care of yourself. If you have a schedule of a lot of remote meetings, you need to take more care of yourself than when you were seeing people face to face. So work out for yourself, what do you need to do to keep energy and fatigue, because that fatigue is going to go through to your people. One of the things about working remotely is to keep it short and keep it sweet. I call it check in, speak out, and check out. I think my experience has been that someone would rather appreciate a chat with me every day where I just check in, this is the news, what's going on, check out. Not a long conversation unless it's project or job related. Right, I don't want to talk too much about network innovation today, but two things. How do news channels? Well, unfortunately, they make it by giving bad news. So as far as your motivation is concerned, I would recommend, be very, very selective about what you watch. Don't necessarily, I don't make a point of watching the news. I normally watch the posters on the lamp poles, and I just get the broad idea what's going on, and then if I need to look at something specific, I'll go and look at it. But if you take the percentage of bad versus good news, it's 90-10 because bad news sells. And it's really a funny game. I mean, the coronavirus thing is almost, it's like a competition now. How many people are ill and how many have died, and I mean, it's tragic. Take the December holidays. How many people have died on the road? Have we broken the record from last year? So decide what you're going to cut out of your life that can affect your motivation negatively. And remember, if you're working remotely, and I want to come back to this question, you're going to have to use more than words to inspire others. There's no passage talk. Well, you might be in the office with some people now under lockdown, but if you are working remotely, send an inspiring message. Google encouraging images, and just send someone an encouraging message. Takes you a minute or so. But use more than words. And a picture, I always say, a picture speaks more than 1,000 words. That's really all that I wanted to do today. Let's just flip back here. Is to give you the tools and the framework, and just emphasize that develop for yourself a motivation strategy. Do it over a coffee, do whatever you want, get a scribble book, write in it, but create a motivation strategy for yourself. You might also want to write down the things that are demotivational for you, and then see how you can work with those. Holding the vision, believe me, if you've come this far, and you're in business and you're in this program, trust yourself. Sometimes it's just a feeling. I'm not saying hold back on the business basics. You cannot operate without financials. You can't operate without marketing. But trust yourself, because have you ever got that feeling when you're with someone and you see they're unsure, then you get unsure. So this is not fake it till you make it. It's just trust yourself to get the job done. Okay, and the Lego is you. You've got to keep the glue together. Be a thought leader. Give your people the opportunity to speak out. Edward, he's been years. I'm one of the old generation, but he had a saying, once you say po, you can say anything. So even if people come with the craziest of ideas, you as a thought leader could potentially take those, put them together, and have a whole new alternative. Right. So just a quick last review. Remember, set yourself up for a win today. Reward yourself when you get home. Write it down. I did one thing where I won today. Time and task integration. I can't stress this enough. For me, I'm a little bit not OCD, but I'm very process oriented. I'm very goal oriented. I really want. I decide what I want to focus on, and it works for me because being a musician and also being creative, my mind goes all over the place. So my to-do list, is just endless. So I have to prioritize. I have to say, what are the tasks I have to do this week? And I have to build that into my calendar. Last thing I want to mention, we're actually over time, but last thing I want to mention here is something called boundaries and glass balls. Now, I don't know how many of you are familiar with boundaries from a psychological point of view. I've noticed another question. Thank you, Charlene. I will take it now. But boundaries are all about how do you go, I wouldn't say about preventing self-harm, but what boundaries do you set around yourself? Are people walking all over you? Or are you keeping them too much at a distance? What are you allowing? What kind of relationships and interaction are you allowing between you and other people? And of course, it'll depend on the person and the relationship. However, it's probably a good idea to, if you haven't read, look at boundaries, because boundaries motivation. There are certain things that if your boundaries are not correct, just a comment that someone will make will demotivate you. Let's quickly talk about glass balls. Here's a picture of a guy juggling. I'm an amateur juggler. But it's great if you want to try something that really instead of a puzzle, buy 3 juggling balls and try and get it going. However, when we're juggling, I call them the glass balls. We are juggling lots of things at the same time. What's very important is those balls, they fall often. That's how we learn. If those balls are made of rubber or they're made of leather or whatever, that's fine. We can pick them up. But in your life, there are some glass balls. If you drop a glass ball, it shatters. You cannot put it together again. So try and identify for you, what are the glass balls? If everything's falling off the table, hold on to the glass balls. It may be your personal life, it may be your business, it may be whatever. But look at boundaries and identify those glass balls and don't take your eye off that and make sure you don't drop them. I'm going to answer the question, I think. I've talked enough about holding the space. One more thing I want to say is remember that if you're working for yourself or you're working with a team, we call it holding the space. People are expecting you to hold the space. The space is the safe area. The space is, okay, we're still in control of this. It's still going to work out. I'm holding the space for you, but I need you to work with me to hold the space. And what do I expect? What are you prepared to do to help me hold the space? Because you as a business leader or as an individual business person, you can't hold the space all by yourself. So it's a good way to challenge your people and say, okay, we're going through difficult times. What are you prepared to do to hold the space that we're in, to make it safe and to help us get through this time? Okay, let's talk about a last question. How could you give us some ideas? Oh, I see. Okay. Could you give us some ideas on what a day, I think it says in your motivational strategy looks like? Let me just click on the 3 dots here. Charlene, just give me a yes if I'm correct. Could you give us some ideas on what a day in your motivational strategy looks like? Is that the question? Just give me a yes if I'm correct. Okay, I don't see anything coming through yet. But let's. Okay, no, that's fine. Okay, don't worry. Thank you. Yeah, wanted to know how to get started with the strategy, and then I will talk about some book titles. So a day in the motivational. Could you give us some ideas on what a day in your motivational strategy looks like? So let me tell you my first challenge. My first challenge is habits. I'm in some things I'm a person of habit. In other things I'm not a person of habit. So I know what my good habits are. I know what my bad habits are, and I want to make sure that I manage the habits that I'm not that good at. I've got a set morning habit. I'll wake up at 5 o'clock. I will get out of bed. I'll make myself a cup of coffee. Um, there's always this thing when you wake up, put your foot out of the bed. Don't put it back in. I'll make up a cup of coffee. I'll read something stimulating. And then normally around 6 o'clock, I'll have a quiet time. I'll do some meditation. And 7 o'clock, I'll start preparing for the day. I will just look through my calendar. Okay, this is what I need to do today. I caught up yesterday on that. And then 8 o'clock, I'll get stuck in. Pretty much, from there onwards, unless something goes totally awry, I will go with what I wanted to do. And that's why I block my day out. But what I make a point of is if I'm being alone, let's say the whole day, either that evening or during the day, I'll send someone a WhatsApp. I'll call them. I'll speak to a friend. Because, again, isolation equals desolation. And then the other part of the motivational strategy is in the back of my mind, I've always got a little book next to my bed, and I'm saying, this is what I'm interested in, and I'm writing down. Sometimes I wake in the middle of the night, and I look at that, and I'm thinking, well, this could be motivational. And you know what? Sometimes it doesn't have anything to do with your business. It has to do with your personality. Online, you could go and there's so many personality tests that you can do. Understand yourself a bit better. But understand where your habits are. And I think the word discipline, for me, it's overused. It sounds too military. I was in the military. I'm that old. But building habits is not a once-off thing. If you've got one habit, I put my foot out of the bed. I build another habit onto that. I put my other foot out of the bed. Then I put on my slippers. Then what I do is I will change my shirt. And if you start with a small habit and you can do that for 2 or 3 or 4 days, don't worry about the 21 days, and hook another small habit onto that, you will find that very soon you will be building your habits up. And with the background of, and I think it's important that you do understand yourself. What drives you? What motivates you? It's very personal to you. And it's not that airy-fairy stuff people talk about. This is very scientific. And I think it's important there are hundreds of tests, whether you do Myers-Briggs, whether you do the Likert test, whether you do the color test or whatever. And you might even think at some other time involving your people in something like that, but in a fun way. It's quick. Guys, today we're going to look a little bit about how we think. Look for a tool that's fun and get together and then talk about that and say, all right, guys or girls, I'm sorry, I'm being a little bit chauvinistic. So what's that telling us? And you can actually turn that into a pleasant experience. You can do it on a webinar, but it is nice if you can do it in person. Just the last thing on motivational strategy. I make a point of really shutting down when I go to bed. Sometimes I will overstep detective, mystery stories, and so on. But I will try and rather read than watch something. By the way, the whole thing about blue screen interaction is very important. Either if you can get those glasses with the blue filters, but look on the internet. There are things like called F-Lux and so on. You can load it on your computer, and it actually adjusts the light to the time of day so that it matches your body rhythm, so you don't get that heavy glare if you're going to work late. Right, just the book titles again. I see somebody asked me about the book titles. So there's the one first book by Alon Reyes. You can get it from Reyes Corp. Is called "What to Do When You Don't Know What to Do." And the other one, it's written many years ago, and there are different versions for different industries. So just see if there's one for you. There's one for architects. There's one for this. There's one for that. It's called The E-Myth, and it's written by Michael Gerber. He's still very active in that. You're just going to find so much reference to that. One thing I just want to mention that I find very useful is audio book summaries. 5 minutes, 7 minutes, sometimes a written book summary. You just get a taste of what the book's about. You don't have to waste your time. You don't have to go buy the book. It's cheap. You subscribe to, there's one called All You Can Read. There's Audible. There's whatever. And you can very quickly just use those audio summaries. I'm interested in that. Let's go a bit further to that. So that's also part of my motivational day. I try and listen to those audio books whenever I can. Okay. I think it looks to me like I've addressed all the questions. Wanted to know how to get started with the strategy. I think that's about it. Okay. Let's leave it at that. I think we're a little bit over time, but what I would really appreciate, I really like using this information because we want to make it as useful for you as possible. I'd appreciate it if you could just give us a feedback or a comment or a takeaway. What do you think was the most useful takeaway for you from this session? And we'll take that on board, and we can also build that into future programs. So with that, I'm going to leave you. I'm going to watch for your takeaways, and I think I've really enjoyed this session. Thank you for the stimulating questions. It's really been great. You've asked a lot of questions, which I really appreciate. And I wish you well. I'm sure we're going to probably meet one another some other time. And I want to again thank Nedbank for really putting together a fantastic program. I think you already know, those of you who've been on 3 or 4 webinars, that this is really, we want to do in-depth thought leadership, but we still want to keep it real. Okay, that's it from me. And everybody, you have a fantastic weekend. Thank you for attending this webinar, and I wish you every success. And remember, trust yourself, keep a safe space, trust your people. Right. That's it from me. Goodbye. Lots of blessings, and I wish you every success. Bye-bye.